From the land of lakes, this is 10,000 Takes. Wally Langfellow and Eric Nelson as we slice and dice the always busy, always topical Twin Cities sports scene. I am here in our studios in Minneapolis, and lo and behold, Eric Nelson in Southern California, staying warm. I'm staying inside to stay warm. You're outside by the pool with the palm trees. Kind of ridiculous, but you were in Super Bowl City. So give me the lay of the land. How was it in Southern California, or SoCal as you like to call it, over the past few days, including Super Sunday?
Well, you know, weather-wise, Wally, wonderful. They had a February heat wave. It was mid to upper 80s the last few days. So spectacular weather, you know, sun-baked afternoons. You could go to the beach. You could jump in the pool. You could take a hike. You could definitely be outside. So that was a positive. The traffic is epic out here. I'm in Santa Ana. That's Orange County. I had to drive to Malibu twice, 67 miles as the crow flies, 2 hours, 15 minutes up the I-5 to the I-405, and then the landmark highway called Pacific Coast Highway out here in SoCal. But no complaints. It's been good. And I think L.A. did a pretty good job on the Super Bowl. But I will say this megalopolis is so sprawling with Los Angeles, Orange County, and what they call the IE, the Inland Empire. There's parts of this region that didn't even know there was a game yesterday.
Well, and that doesn't surprise me. I think that Rams fan base is pretty soft. The only fan base softer out there, or all of the NFL probably, is the Chargers fan base, because I don't think the people in L.A. could give a hoot about the L.A. Chargers, the former San Diego Chargers, and they barely cared about the Rams. And so the Rams get a Super Bowl victory, 23-20. They beat the Bengals. They hand the Bengals their third straight Super Bowl loss. Now the Bengals are on the Vikings trail as a four-time Super Bowl loser. So the Vikings and the Buffalo Bills can, as you like to say, look over their shoulders and see the Cincinnati Bengals in the rearview mirror. But pretty good football game, just like all the playoff games this year.
Yeah, misery loves company. The Vikings and Bills welcome the fact that the Bengals are 0-3 and now in the neighborhood, on the block, so to speak. But, you know, Cincinnati's Super Bowl history, Wally, much different than Minnesota's. The Vikings have had 4 blowouts, and the last time they were in a Super Bowl 45 years ago, and since then they've had 6 straight NFC championship game losses. The first Bengals Super Bowl defeat was by 5, the second by 4, and then on Sunday in Inglewood, only by 3. So the Bengals have knocked on the door in every game. They just can't get it done. And, you know, they were a Cinderella Cincinnati Bengals team, no question. They almost closed it out. But the L.A. Rams, just too much star power, and they get the victory in their home building, SoFi Stadium.
Well, and, of course, the big Minnesota connection in all of this, as you know, is Kevin O'Connell, the current or future head coach of the Minnesota Vikings, depending on how you want to look at it. He'll be announced here shortly as the Vikings' new head coach officially. And the Vikings offense, do you think it resembled what you're going to see next year, or what you saw from the L.A. Rams? Because the Rams had all kinds of trouble running the football, and the Vikings, they tend to lean on the run. So I think it's going to be an interesting dichotomy, if you will, bringing a guy in who really didn't have much of a running game, particularly in the Super Bowl, to a team that loved to run the football with Dalvin Cook.
Yeah, I think any good head coach, they're going to bend and be flexible and work around the talent they have. Don't force a square peg into a round hole. Now, certainly, Kevin O'Connell will bring ideas and philosophies that he's learned under Sean McVay. This guy's the youngest head coach in NFL history to win a Super Bowl. You better copy some of the things that Sean McVay has done. He's been wildly successful out here in Los Angeles. He's actually getting people on the Rams bandwagon. That's hard to do when you can go to the beach or the mountains or a Lakers game or a Dodgers game. But I think Kevin O'Connell will, he will tinker with the Vikings. He will put his stamp on the team. But you have Dalvin Cook. He's one of the top 5 running backs in the NFL. I think the key for Minnesota is, we pound this drum every year, bolster and upgrade the offensive line so Kirk Cousins can even take it to another level. He's a very good quarterback. If you get him an elite O-line, I think Kirk Cousins could be top 8 in the NFL.
Well, and I think that what you're saying is being heard because a lot of the national reporters are saying that the Vikings are going to hang on to Kirk Cousins, try to restructure so that $45 million cap hit this year isn't that. It's less than that. That Cousins wants to help the Vikings get over the hump to try and win. He's got his money. He's going to get his money eventually, right? That's not the issue. So do they sign him to an extension? Does he get some more teammates that can help him win a championship? Those are the questions that remain. But as I said, a lot of the national media now reporting that the Vikings are going to hang on to him long term. Or are the Vikings throwing up a smokescreen here so that they could possibly trade him down the road and he has more value because it looks like the Vikings want him? What do you think?
I think you bring up a good point. It's hard to separate fact from fiction,
right?
Because sometimes there are leaks in organizations. Now you have a total regime change. This is like the changing of the guard at Buckingham Palace in London. Out is Mike Zimmer, out is Rick Spielman, in comes Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah and Kevin O'Connell. They're going to come together and figure out what they want. I think there's a lot of moving pieces here. They can say they want Kirk Cousins, and right now he's a good fit. He's a good quarterback. But if you think you can get a Russell Wilson, or dare I say it, an Aaron Rodgers, or somebody at that top tier level, and I don't think they'd get A-Rod, but Russell Wilson maybe. I mean, so moving pieces, moving parts. You have to realize there's a business aspect to this. And if somebody really wanted Kirk Cousins and you could free up some money, then you might go down that road. So I think anything's in play.
All right. We're going to talk more football. We've got Leo Lewis coming up, the former Minnesota Viking. He's going to join us in the next segment. But before we get to that, I wanted to hit you on a couple of other topics before we close out this first segment. Your Minnesota Wild are back home. They have the Detroit Red Wings. The Minnesota Timberwolves were winners in Indiana on Sunday, and they're back home. They've got a home game Tuesday and a home game Wednesday. So as they head towards the All-Star break, it looks like the Timberwolves are trending up. And with Karl Anthony Towns going to Cleveland for the All-Star game, I think that things look pretty rosy for the Wolves right now. Your thoughts?
Yeah, they clearly are trending up, and I expect them to be in the playoffs, especially with 10 teams now in each conference punching a postseason ticket. I'm out here in Lakerland, right? Clipperland, and they're looking up at the Timberwolves. I mean, when was the last time that ever happened? On Valentine's Day. So this is a Valentine's gift for the T-Wolves fan base, and I think they should only get better. And I think there's confidence now with the young team. They're deeper than I thought they would be. They're not just Cat and Ant and D'Lo. They have other pieces, so they just need to keep grinding, and good things can happen.
A couple other pieces. Gopher men's basketball team, they beat Penn State on Saturday. They have Ohio State at Ohio State this week, so it's not going to get any easier for the Gopher men. And then finally, USA Hockey. The women are in the gold medal game. They beat Finland, so there's plenty of Minnesotans on there. And then the men, of course, have advanced to the quarterfinals. I know you're not a big Winter Olympics guy, but there's plenty of Minnesotans, especially on those two hockey teams.
Yeah, and I noticed on the broadcast last night when NBC wrapped up the Super Bowl coverage, that was a quick pivot over to Beijing, China, as they get the Winter Olympics and what they hope will be blockbuster ratings. I'm sure for the Super Bowl, yes. Winter Olympics, it hasn't gone as well as far as people watching and moving the needle, but maybe that'll change.
Yeah. Well, and they actually propped up Jesse Diggins in one of those promos as they were segueing from football into the Winter Olympics. So we'll talk about more about that in the upcoming week on the radio show, and, of course, next week back here on the TV show. Coming up next, we're going to talk some more football. We'll talk some more Super Bowl. Leo Lewis, the former Minnesota Viking, and, of course, he played for the Vikings throughout the 80s. He'll join us next to give his takes on the Super Bowl and, of course, the Vikings coaching change. Stay with us.
I've been meaning to give you these for many years. I think they're perfect.
Maya?
Oh, I love your earring. Why didn't you try these?
It isn't just about vision. It's about care. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
Thinking about buying or refinancing a home? Then you should be talking to Dave Jensen and Cross Country Mortgage at mortgagesbydave.com. When you come to Dave, he begins by listening and can offer you a home loan that's right for you. Whether you're a first-time buyer or a long-time homeowner, Mortgages by Dave will be with you every step of the way. So whether you're buying or refinancing, apply online at mortgagesbydave.com or call and he'll answer at 612-384-3283. Online at mortgagesbydave.com.
From the first time you pick up a tuned-up custom rod, you'll know you're holding something special. A rod not mass-produced, but built one at a time by the hands of gifted craftsmen. Rods like the Precision, ice fishing's most versatile multi-species rod, or the Precision Noodle with a tip so sensitive you'll never fish a spring bobber again. And the Commander, the rod that's never met a big fish it couldn't best. Tuned-up custom rods. Ice rods handcrafted for you and the way you fish.
10,000 takes from Minneapolis and points beyond. Of course, Eric Nelson out in Southern California. And from Eden Prairie, former Minnesota Viking Leo Lewis, of course, spent the 1980s with the Vikings, finishing up his career in 1991. Leo, you were out in Southern California watching the Super Bowl like just about everybody else in America. You had to be proud. A wide receiver, Cooper Kupp, gets MVP, and he played really well, obviously.
Well, of course. You know, I'm an NFC guy anyway. Albeit, if the Chiefs were there, it would have been tough for me to stay with the NFC. But I enjoyed the game. You know, like most fans, you kind of like the over-dramatic plays, but there were a few of them. Yet it was a pretty basic grunt football type of game, and that's okay.
Leo, Aaron Donald is dominant for the L.A. Rams in the trenches on the defensive side of the ball. He's a disruptor. We saw it at the end of the game when Cincinnati couldn't even get into field goal range. Is he at that John Randall, Alan Page level? Because it sure seems like it.
Wow, that's some good comparisons. I'm not. It's kind of hard to really describe his comparisons to those. I certainly would think Page dominated a little bit more. But for me, not knowing the Rams as much as I did during the season when they played the Vikings, I believe he's at the pinnacle of his career. And oftentimes people like to leave it just like that, particularly when you got a ring.
As far as the Rams offense, because that's really what the Vikings are getting. They're getting Kevin O'Connell, a guy that was their offensive coordinator. He, of course, didn't call the plays, but nonetheless, he's obviously instrumental in what they did offensively. Do you like what you saw out of them? Do you think that that translates over to the Minnesota Vikings with Dalvin Cook, with Kirk Cousins?
Well, you know what? I would have liked the Rams to be able to run the ball. Man, it was very difficult for them to do that. I understand that they had the lowest average running the ball than any Super Bowl winning team, and at the same time they had lost a number of their offensive personnel, particularly wide receivers and tight ends, and just relied on their superstars. And sometimes a team can do that when you have a tough defense.
Leo, right now the future of Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay, it's foggy. We're not sure what's going to happen there. If he were to leave Wisconsin, does that mean the NFC North is up for grabs? Because obviously if he comes back, Green Bay's the clear-cut favorite. So I'm guessing deep down you hope he goes to Denver or Pittsburgh or somewhere else on the NFL map.
Not Pittsburgh,
well,
please.
Not you, Mr. Brown.
I think if we want to be a good team, we're going to meet him regardless. You know, if we end up being a good team and he doesn't play for Green Bay, he's going to play for a good team. And we'll eventually meet them, maybe in the Super Bowl. You never know. You know what? I think these days, and the way we saw Aaron Rodgers' career maneuver last year, I would bet that there is a huge opportunity for him to move on. Why not? Why not? Why not during your career have an opportunity, just like Tom Brady, to try something different? And oftentimes when you do the same thing year in and year out and don't get a good result, maybe that's telling you something.
Could be. Speaking of which, Kirk Cousins, Kevin O'Connell. That's going to be the formula that either works or they're going to have to change that formula going forward. Do you see the fact that they work together in Washington as a positive, or do you think that O'Connell comes in here and decides, along with Mensah, that it's time to move on? What are your thoughts?
Yeah. You know what? I think we shouldn't be surprised that the team keeps Kurt. I'm not saying that that's what I would prefer, but I think that just because there's new people in place, we should not expect that personnel are going to be leaving in droves. And I understand that Kurt has a contract that needs to be understood, meaning we either give him an extension or figure out a way of not paying him as much money, particularly this year. And I think one of the best things that a general manager, scouts, the head coach have to figure out is how can we make Kurt successful if we're going to keep him. And that may mean that we do a little bit different in our approach to the run game, meaning we need to get some linemen who could not only block the run, but also protect Kurt. And it also may mean that we need to pay a little bit more attention to our defense.
Leo, let me circle it back to the Los Angeles Rams. Matthew Stafford gets the Super Bowl ring. So it's definitely proof you had the right guy in the wrong situation in Detroit. And it shows you in the NFL, there are many great quarterbacks who unfortunately go to a dysfunctional organization and are never allowed to reach that pinnacle. Stafford should be sending a huge gift basket to the Lions for letting him go and setting him free.
Well, yes, I think, and we can't say that it was all Stafford's fault. Maybe he didn't have enough players supporting him, but given Detroit's place in the draft year after year, you would think that they had enough good players because they've drafted so high over the years. So yes, I think you said it right. What is dysfunctional about the Detroit Lions? So I don't think it can be necessarily the players unless the general manager and the scouts just haven't been drafting well. So I think I'm really happy for the quarterback. I think moving to the Rams is one of the pinnacle, is going to be something he's going to really hang on to, and it may make we may see him for 4 or 5 more years, to tell you the truth.
Would not surprise me at all. He will take the lion's share, so to speak, of the accolades, and he took the lion's share of the blame when he was in Detroit. Leo, appreciate you spending some time with us. We will talk to you again down the road, and maybe we'll be talking about a Viking playoff team next season. Thanks for joining us. Of course.
Well, we'll look forward to that. I think what also is important is that these times between now and the draft are probably the most critical times for this franchise. I'm talking about the Vikings. And, we need to get back and start playing in late January and February.
No question. All right, he is Leo Lewis, former Minnesota Vikings wide receiver, played throughout the 80s and into the early 90s for the Purple. Eric and I will be back with more. We're talking some ice fishing when we come back. Stay with us here on 10,000 Takes.
From the first time you pick up a tuned-up custom rod, you'll know you're holding something special. A rod not mass-produced, but built one at a time by the hands of gifted craftsmen. Rods like the Precision, ice fishing's most versatile multi-species rod, or the Precision Noodle with a tip so sensitive you'll never fish a spring bobber again. And the Commander, the rod that's never met a big fish it couldn't best. Tuned-up custom rods. Ice rods handcrafted for you and the way you fish.
Thinking about buying or refinancing a home? Then you should be talking to Dave Jensen at MortgagesByDave.com. When you come to Dave, he begins by listening and can offer you a home loan that's right for you. So if you're buying or refinancing a home, Dave will be with you every step of the way. Apply online at MortgagesByDave.com or call Dave at 612-384-3283. Equal housing opportunity restrictions apply. Dave Jensen, NMLS number 452485, Cross Country Mortgage, NMLS 3029, NMLSConsumerAccess.org.
I've been meaning to give you these for many years.
I think they're perfect.
It isn't just about vision, it's about care. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
$10,000 takes, and we are all over the map with this week's show, from Southern California, where Eric is, to northern Minnesota, where Scott Mackner is, our fishing guide, to talk some ice fishing. And Scott, I see you've got, and it looks like you've got some interesting things going on there. You got a television monitor with a camera below the ice, and I just saw Northern go through the picture there a few minutes ago. How's the fishing been going?
It's going right. Actually, now I have a bass and a bluegill on here as well.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, come on.
Now you could see them in the background. What are you using? Are you actually fishing for the larger fish? I know you tend to fish for the panfish, but what are you using right now?
You know, so right now I'm kind of fishing for a little bit of everything. I have a rod down with I have a rod down with a crappie minnow on it. Just kind of, I caught a crappie off it earlier, and then this other rod here, I have a small tungsten jig with a wax worm. So I'm just kind of going for an anything type of day.
Scott, is this the stretch run for you when it comes to ice fishing? I know it's still very cold out, and spring seems like a rumor, but now we're at Valentine's Day. March is on the horizon. If you want to ice fish, you better get it done in the next 2-3 weeks, right?
Basically. You know, it might seem cold right now, but when you get to the back end of February, that ice seems to disappear really fast.
Scott, how has the ice fishing season been this year? I know we've had some extreme cold. I know International Falls had 42 below about a week or so ago. But how has the ice fishing season gone this year as far as you're concerned?
You know, it's been pretty good. We've battled a lot of snow, a lot of slush, and cold temps. You know, one day we were out actually fishing on the ice, a guided group, and the wind chill was negative 47 degrees out. But regardless of the cold temps, you know, we've been catching fish.
Yeah, and I'm going to give a plug to Adam Audette, Tuned Up Custom Rods. We're talking about ice fishing now, but out here in the land of sun and surf, you can actually use a Tuned Up Custom Rod and fish in the ocean, correct?
Oh, absolutely. They got a fantastic lineup of open water rods that are, you know, they work everywhere.
And what are you using right there with ice fishing right now, Scott?
So I have the rod I have the small jig on. This is a Tuned Up Custom Rods Precision Noodle. It has a good backbone to it and a really, really light tip. And then I actually have a secondary rod that I'm just using as a dead stick. This is a bullwhip, and essentially this rod only a little bit heavier. It's got a heavier backbone, can handle a little bit bigger jigs and spoons than this rod here.
What's the temp inside your portable fish house?
You know, I have a lot of clothes on, so I feel like it's probably 65 or 70 degrees inside here right now.
Wow.
Oh,
wow, that's that's a good setup if it's that warm. Have you caught anything today?
I've caught a few crappies, a couple sunfish, and I did catch one bass.
And you're on Rush Lake, which is what, southeast of Detroit Lakes, right?
That's correct.
Okay, and is that typically a good lake for you?
It is. There's pretty much everything in Rush. You can catch crappies, you can catch walleyes, you can catch sunfish. It's a really good all-around lake.
All right. Well, Scott, we appreciate you spending some time with us. Haul them in. If you catch anything, I expect an invite to the fish fry.
All right. Thank you guys very much.
All right. He is Scott Mackner, fishing guide up in the Detroit Lakes area, with us here this week on 10,000 Takes. Eric and I will be back with our takes of the day right after this timeout. Stay with us.
From the first time you pick up a tuned-up custom rod, you'll know you're holding something special. A rod not mass-produced, but built one at a time by the hands of gifted craftsmen. Rods like the Precision, ice fishing's most versatile multi-species rod, or the Precision Noodle with a tip so sensitive you'll never fish a spring bobber again. And the Commander, the rod that's never met a big fish it couldn't best. Tuned-up custom rods. Ice rods handcrafted for you and the way you fish.
I've been meaning to give you these for many years. I think they're perfect. these.
It isn't just about vision, it's about care. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
Thinking about buying or refinancing a home? Then you should be talking to Dave Jensen at mortgagesbydave.com. When you come to Dave, he begins by listening and can offer you a home loan that's right for you. So if you're buying or refinancing a home, Dave will be with you every step of the way. Apply online at mortgagesbydave.com or call Dave at 612-384-3283. Equal housing opportunity restrictions apply. Dave Jensen, NMLS number 452485, Cross Country Mortgage, NMLS 3029, NMLSconsumeraccess.org. 10,000 Takes, our final segment. Wally Langfellow with you here in the studios in Minneapolis. And, of course, Eric is in Southern California, SoCal, Cali, whatever they call it out there. All right, mister. We're going to switch things around since you are now in Southern California, away from the desk, on vacation, so to speak. What's your take of the day?
Well, the headline in the Los Angeles Times today, Wally, said, Western mega drought is the worst it's been in 1,200 years. So rain is a precious thing. Water is like gold out here in California and the West. But when it comes to sports in Los Angeles, there is no drought. The Rams won the Super Bowl last night at SoFi Stadium against the Bengals. In 2020, the Dodgers won the World Series, and the L.A. Lakers also won the NBA title. So the city of Los Angeles, in the land of drought, has 3 sports title teams in a span of about a year and a half. Minnesota would like to have just one of those championships.
Interesting. You talk about a land of drought, and you're sitting in front of a pool. Just thought I'd mention.
Yeah, and that's, and that water has been taken from a lake in Northern California, oh, by the way.
Probably.
Or the Colorado River.
Or both.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, Rocky, our longtime producer, was able to bring the mood meter with him to SoCal because he flew Southwest. No baggage fees. So, Wally, we're going to find out if you're a cranky Yankee, angry American, giddy guardian, or a pouting peacock today in your take.
All right, well, interestingly that you say pouting peacock, because as the Peacock signed off from the Super Bowl last night, that being, of course, NBC, so did the legendary voice of Al Michaels, probably. Yes, it sounds like Al Michaels is going to be moving on to Prime Video, so you can watch your Thursday night games on Prime, streaming service, no more NBC. And it's a shame that NBC is going to move away from Al Michaels, the legendary voice of Al Michaels. Who doesn't like Al Michaels? You hear some detractors about Joe Buck, but I've never heard anybody say anything negative about what Al Michaels does in the booth. I think NBC's making a huge mistake, and he will be missed on NBC's broadcast, particularly Sunday Night Football.
And the mood meter says, cranky Yankee, and in parentheses, pouting peacock.
All right. Well, it is time for us to say goodbye. You in L.A., you'll be back here next week. Here I am in Minneapolis, and we say so long. This is 10,000 Takes, your sports ticket.